In today's episode of Suburban White Woman Gone Mad, we have the perfect specimen, or example, of what the left does to a typically normal female over time. Now, I imagine this particular lady was probably destined to raise a normal family in a quiet neighborhood, happy to indulge in yearly vacations to Disney, look forward to decorating her single-family California split with Christmas decorations once a year, maybe join the neighborhood or homeowners association. I would imagine the biggest conundrum in her life would have been figuring out what color to repaint the guest bathroom. But no, I'm quite sure somewhere around those college years this poor woman was led astray into a world of partial birth abortion and gender madness. You know, that probably all started with that easily debunked gender pay gap. What a poor, poor woman. Let's get started. So the conservative media has been talking about Nebraska State Senator Bitchute Kavanaugh's hysterical way of showing her solidarity with the so-called transgender activists outside the Nebraska State House. You see, her version of solidarity was to say the same three sentences repeatedly, working herself from a sweet smile to a fit of frenzied anger. The video is really worth watching because it highlights the madness of white, college-educated leftist women. It's also a pure display of Orwell's 2 minutes of hate if I've ever seen one. It really does take cringe to a whole new level. We'll watch it here in a little bit. I'll start with Orwell, as you may remember from your high school or college years. In 1984, Orwell described how Winston Smith's workplace has a daily 2 minutes of hate, during which employees gather to vent their anger at Emmanuel Goldstein, the enemy of the people. Orwell described how the workers began with vague dislike for Goldstein before lashing themselves into a fury. Quote, there were hisses here and there among the audience before the hate had proceeded for 30 seconds. Uncontrollable exclamations of rage were breaking out from half the people in the room. In its second minute, the hate rose to a frenzy. People were leaping up and down in their places and shouting at the top of their voices in an effort to drown the maddening, bleating voice that came from the screen. The horrible thing about the 2 minutes of hate was not that one was obligated to act a part, but on the contrary, that it was impossible to avoid joining in. Within 30 seconds, any pretense was always unnecessary. A hideous ecstasy of fear and vindictiveness, a desire to kill, to torture, to smash faces in with a sledgehammer, seemed to flow through the whole group of people like an electric current, turning one even against one's will into a grimacing, screaming lunatic, unquote. Is it really mindless lunacy and rage in a nutshell? Or is it just another spoiled, sheltered upper-middle-class white woman searching for something, anything, to be angry about? You make the call. Because Bitchute Kavanaugh is a credentialed woman, according to her webpage anyways. She, quote, obtained her master's degree in public administration from the University of Nebraska at Omaha and a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota. Her father, John, also a Democrat, served in the House of Representatives in the late 1970s. Bitchute now lives in Omaha's Peony Park neighborhood, where houses sell in the mid-six figures. It's not one of Omaha's fanciest neighborhoods, but it's clearly nice. Ironically enough, I've been there recently and drove through, and it's doing just fine. Politically, Bitchute, like her daddy, is a Democrat. Her webpage shows that she's a pro-abortion fanatic. That's what powers her engine, or at least gets it started, up and running. Now, really what all of these facts suggest is that Bitchute, like so many white, college-educated leftist women, probably suffers from cognitive dissonance. As a woman, she's a victim. As a white person, she's an oppressor. What a horrible place to be. You see, the damnedest thing about cognitive dissonance is it takes a normal person and it makes them plumb crazy. And that gets me to the viral video. Bitchute got her chance at the podium in the Nebraska State House while so-called transgender activists were protesting rather violently outside. No clip on that for obvious reasons, right? Bitchute, however, found the protesters inspiring. Quote, trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people, she began. smiling and softly voiced as she quoted, "What they're saying out there." At this point, one might expect Michaela to explain why so-called transgender people belong anywhere specific. The street, the legislature, the city, why anyone needs them, and why we should love them. But she didn't, instead in a frenzy that would have fit perfectly into Orwell's Oceana. Michaela repeated the three phrases over and over, stirring herself up into a mindless, screaming passion. And yes, she wasn't saying hateful words, but the passion clearly came from her hatred for those who don't agree with her. Here's the clip.
Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. You matter.
You know, it's entirely possible that Michaela is mentally ill, and we're seeing the sad spectacle of a woman breaking down right before our very eyes. However, she's not unique at all. You see, this is what leftists, especially white leftist women, do. They operate from a place of pure, furious emotion. It's disgusting and childish. I'll close with this. Like my dog when she wants to bark at the neighbor's dog walking in front of my home. They're convinced that the more loudly they bark, the stronger their argument really is. It's amusing when my dog does it. It's downright disturbing when a legislator does it. And historically frightening when a mob of privileged, supposed educated adults do it. Come on, Nebraska, take out the trash. We know you can do better. Most of this came by way of the American thinker. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Hi. Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.